Virginia here with Jenny Lee Gems. I want to show you a new stitch that you can try instead of using the faggoting stitch. Normally when you have these crevices, a lot of us put faggoting stitch, and that's what I've normally done. But I wanted to practice on a few new stitches. Excuse me, and one of them is called the high bar. And that is this one in pink right here, dark pink. And then I was also practicing the netting stitch. So there's a couple ways you can do it. You can have little ties between or buttonhole stitches, or you could just keep looping the netting. Now I need to practice that one a little bit more. I haven't quite gotten that down. So I did a previous video on this high bar stitch, which is quite beautiful. You could see that up close. However, it's very long and I can't get it to upload. So I am going to try to teach you this in a quicker video so it will upload easier to YouTube. So again, this is called the high bar stitch and it's similar to the faggoting stitch, but it just has some buttonholes added. So I've worked my little tail of thread back here. I've got a little knot and I'm going to tuck it in. You don't have to do that. You can work it from the bottom or whatever way you like to hide your thread. So what you do first is just the same thing as you would do in a faggoting stitch. And if you don't know that stitch, I do have a video on that. So go in and take just a couple threads. I want to make sure to get enough because I want to make sure it is. Let's see if I can get this light a little better over here. No, it's in the way. Okay. I'll just try to get closer. Take a couple stitches. Or pick up a couple stitches. Come from the back. And for the faggoting, you know, you twist up around the back of that first stitch. So here, because the cavity is so small, I'm just going to leave it with one. And then I'm gonna go diagonally up here and pick up a few more stitches. Lock that down. Okay. And then you come from the back again, coil around or work your way around that stitch. And when you get here, we want to create a buttonhole stitch. So save that little loop. Hopefully you could see that loop and go through the loop from front to back. So I'm using my finger to hold that little loop. Now we're gonna go ahead and create another buttonhole loop. Snug that up. So pull it through a little slower and then you can manage to create a little loop there. So hopefully you could see the loop. Snug it up. So I'm just going to create two buttonholes there because there's not a large cavity. So as we get further along, I will be adding more buttonholes. And it'll create kind of a lacing effect. So here again, go pick up a few stitches to anchor it down. Come from the back. Pull your thread through slower and it's easier to make that little loop. So you can see that loop in the back. Come back down. Create your little buttonhole knot. So I will leave just one knot on that lower level because again, the cavity is sort of small. But it does still create the same effect. So then I will move up a little further diagonally, pick up a stitch or two to anchor it, come from the back, come from the back, Oh, shoot, I forgot to leave the little loop. There's the little loop. Okay. So if you were doing just the faggoting stitch, you would just do a little twist there. But here we're creating that little loop and we're going through and making a knot. So I'm going to put 2 or 3 here so that it starts creating that design. Hold your little thread back there, whatever way is comfortable for you. So I am working from left to right because that's what's comfortable for me, but you can work whatever way you want. That's just the way I've gotten used to working with the faggoting stitch. So this just feels comfortable for me, and I am right-handed. So there's our little loop, and this is the 3rd buttonhole stitch. So that's got a nice little pattern. So now I am going to, again, go diagonally, pick up a few threads, to anchor it down. So you're starting to get that little pattern there. Hopefully you can see it. Maybe better this way. So I'm back on the bottom. I'm going to hold my thread back there. Come back down through the buttonhole. Create that little buttonhole knot. Here I might do 2 buttonholes. I'm just kind of eyeballing it. I'm not real particular about keeping the numbers the same. I mean, sometimes I am. I just do 8 stitches, 8 stitches, 8 stitches, but in this situation, I can't do that. So there. So that pulls it over, anchors it, tightens it up. It seems to be working really well. We're starting to get a nice little pattern. So again, I will come across diagonally, pick up a few stitches. Make sure I have enough stitches. I don't want it coming out, that's for sure. I'd hate to have to try to pull it out and start it over. Okay, diagonally. I'm coming from back to front. Again, you could do it whatever way you feel comfortable. Just continue your pattern the way you like it. There's my little buttonhole. I think that I will create 3 buttonholes here. Holding the loop in the back and going through it. I'm going to untangle my thread. It's starting to get twisted, and then we'll end up with knots. So I was going to do this stitch with the brown because I think it blends. It would look really cool, just blend. But I wanted you to be able to see it better on camera. And if it was brown, if I continued with the brown, I don't know that that would have worked. I usually do, you know, really light colors for the faggoting stitch. So that's 3. I think I have enough room to add another buttonhole. I try to clean my table off, but I always seem to still grab items that I'm not supposed to. So there's the loop. I go through the loop. So this is 4 buttonholes, I think. Snug them up. That's what it's looking like. Okay. Try to work faster so that this will be a shorter video. Diagonally, pick up a loop. Or pick up a thread. Now I've got my needles and my other thread locked out over here so it doesn't get in my way. Okay, so we're probably going to do 2 buttonholes here. 2 buttonhole stitches. There's my loop. Hopefully you could see the pink in there. Same color as my finger. Snug that down. There's the buttonhole. It's 2, that might be enough. I think that's enough. We're going to go back to the top. Just kind of gauge it diagonally. Pick up a few stitches to anchor it. Here we go. Pulling it through. So I ordinarily use 2 arms length of thread. So, but when I'm working on the faggoting stitch or something for a small cavity like this, I know that I don't need that much thread. So I just cut 1 arm's length, and it's much easier. You're not pulling through too much thread and tangling it. It just gets frustrating. Nobody needs any more frustration than they already have. So we'll keep it at a minimum if possible. There's my little loop in the back. My finger has learned how to hold on to it. I'm trying to get it up close to the camera so you get a really good view of what I'm doing. So if you're a beginner, you can watch all these stitches. If you're intermediate, then you might get the idea a little sooner. And if you don't know how to do the faggoting stitch, it'd probably be easiest to learn that first. So I think that's about 4. I think that looks good, 4 or 5. Okay, so we will go back down to the bottom row, pick up a few stitches. I want to make sure that's only 1. I want to get a couple. I don't want this coming apart. I don't want to redo it. Okay, so down here, it is now getting a little longer. I might put 3 buttonholes and snug it up. Not too tight, but just so it stays firm. You don't want to be pulling the threads out of your coil or anything, but you do need to have it snug. 2. Here's a 3rd one. My fingers have gotten used to holding everything this way. They're getting really smart. There's my little loop. I might do this on another piece with some really bright thread so you could see it better. So that's 3, I think, or 4. That looks good. It looks about even. I am starting from the front, so I always put my needle right back to the front. And here we go, diagonally, picking up a few threads. Here's my anchor. So as this gets bigger, as the stitches get bigger, you might be able to see what I'm doing easier. So coming from back to front, I know I'm repeating myself, but that's the way I learn, is repeating and doing it over and over, and then it makes sense and it's much easier. Back to front, go through the loop, first buttonhole, back to front, two, back to front, hold that loop in the back, put your needle back down through it. So see, this is quite a much longer piece of thread. So I am going to make several buttonholes here after I untwist my thread, because otherwise it starts getting knots. So I know that buttonhole is right there. I'm holding it, going back through the hole. I think that's about 4 or 5. I might just go 6 here. So see, it's twisting a little bit back there, but that's okay. Back through. And there is 6. What do you think? Does that look good? Do I need one more? I think I need one more, because I really want this pattern to show in this basket. It just kind of gives it a lacy, fun. So there's another stitch called the Russian double stitch, something like that, that I'll be doing. It's basically 2 faggoting stitches together, from what I can tell. So I'm tightening this up. I will go right about here. I've only got 1 stitch. I really kind of want to get 2. Just my deal. I mean, I know this thread is strong, and if I had 1 stitch, it'd be fine. So on this lower level, we don't need as many buttonhole knots. Knots or stitches, whatever you want to call them. To me, they're like a buttonhole knot. And I hope I am on camera. I can't see. I'm not going to be happy if I'm not. 2, snug them up. 3, I might put 4 here because this is long. And I lost my little loop. But I can get it, I think. Yes, I can. There we go. See, if this thread was 2 arms length, it would be kind of a nightmare. So there's 3. I might create 4 here. Trying to go too fast and I'm losing my little loop. Okay, so there's my loop again. Snug these up, get them all pretty. There we go. My thread's getting a little frayed, but I can snug it up. So then what I'm going to do here is come up to the top, pick it up again. And I learned this from the other side. I am just going to make 1 buttonhole here, anchor it, and then there's not a lot of room, and I want to work my way over to this side and start over here. So I will show you that on another video, but there is the double bar is what it's called, and I hope you could see that. It looks really nice. I love it. It's fun to do. It's different. And I will show you a close-up picture. Okay, thanks for watching. If you want to learn how to get across to the other side, just watch the second half of this video. Thank you so much. Okay, this is part 2 of the double bar. If you need to know how to get to the other side of the walnut, or how I get to the other side, this is what you want to see. So you will recall, here's the double bar stitch. To sign off or to stop, I just went up, anchored it, and then created 1 buttonhole stitch. And I learned that while working on this side. I kind of had a little mess because I was trying to do several stitches and then go over. Well, you can't, what I learned, you can't really come up here and have all the buttonhole stitches and then try to go across without it leaving a weird stitch. So you want to be close to your coil here to work your way through to the other side. So sometimes it's good to fail because you learn what works best. So here I am going to show you how to get to the other side. If you don't know, You could do it whatever way you like, but this is the way I prefer to do it. So you just bury your thread. Now some people will come up here and go through there and hide the thread. You could do that, but I try to work it through, and sometimes it takes a little work. I try to work it through and just hide the thread under the coil thread. Hopefully that makes sense. And I have to use these because I can't grasp this really good. So I'm working it through. It's kind of tight. Snug it up so it holds all of your high bars on this side. And you see, you just see a little knot there. So work it through, then I put it back in and just hide it again and try to coax it to where you want it to come out. Again, I have to use these little pliers. That looks pretty good. Right about there. And I've messed up several needles this way, but you know, good thing they're cheap. So you can use tweezers or whatever you need to get it through, but these work best for me. So now I'm coming out right where I need to be to start. Now, I can't really create anything here other than maybe one knot and see if I could get it to stick to match the other side, but I'm not even going to worry about it because when we get down here, I'm going to have some high bars. You're not even going to notice it. So I'm just going to take a quick one down here. I want to make sure to fill that space. I'm having a problem getting two threads to anchor it today. And anyway, so I will go ahead and then start working on my high bars again here. Now see, this is going to be a long space, so I will try to match up to here and fill that in. So I think that was about 6. Hold your loop, go back down, create the buttonhole, snug it up. So I'm going to go a little bit faster because you've hopefully seen the first video. So there are lots of ways to work your way across. This is just the way I like to do it. And it hides the thread. You could just work your needle down, cut the thread off and leave it that way. A lot of people do that. I just want to make sure that this high bar stitching is not going to come loose, because if you give your basket as a gift or if you're selling it, you don't want to have anything falling apart on it. You don't want to take any chances that way. So I went a little too fast on that one. And I'm talking and not paying attention. Okay, there's my loop. And if you coax it in, you end up with, nope, that wasn't right. See, I shouldn't be talking when I'm trying to stitch the high bar. It's good to know I'm not perfect. It's okay, we could just undo it. That's the good thing. You could, if you don't like the way it looks, you can even cut it out. So let me start. I've got it all twisted up here. Okay, so from the back, up and over, back through the loop. I think I lost the loop on the other side for a bit too, and I ended up with just a regular knot, but that's okay, no one will notice. So here we go, back down. I think we need about 6 if we want to have the same pattern. one more because that is a very large line there. 6. Okay, I'll go back up. I'll show you one last row and then I can just do the rest on my own. And I'm sure you've got it by now. Go up here, pick up a few stitches. I think the wax gets on the needles after a little bit and it starts getting slippery. Here's my loop. It's a big loop. Back down. Snug it up. I'll probably just do 3 on this side because it's a little bit shorter string. Now see, if you're really picky, you're going to have to pay attention to what's going on over here if you want it to exactly match up. But I just gauge it by what it looks like, and I think it will look great this way. So I'm not going to count any stitches or try to make it exactly the same. I'm just trying to make it look similar because you are filling a cavity that's similar, but it's not exact, I don't think anyway. And I'm not exact, I don't care. I'm just doing this for fun and trying to teach others, so you can be as exact as you want on your own basket. Okay, so there we go. That is the high bar. It's based off of they call it a Russian lace stitch, or we call it the Faggoting Stitch. So if you know the Faggoting Stitch, this will be pretty easy for you to do, especially if you know the buttonhole stitch and you just put it together. But it is pretty easy once you break it down. That's how I've been learning all of these. So I hope that helps. I will go ahead and continue this on my own and post a picture with this. But that's what it looks like. I think it looks really pretty. The pink does look pretty. I wanted to have this golden brown, but I don't think that it would have been able to see on the video. So that's what it looks like finished. And I will post a picture. Thanks for watching. Now I'm still figuring out what I'm going to do in here. I hope that I can do the netting stitch, but we'll see what happens in the other 2 cavities. Stay tuned. Thanks for watching.